running live. Oh, we're hoping, if anybody's watching us at the moment, that they can hear us, and if they can pop a message in the chat box just to confirm that you can see us live from Delivery Suite in the John Radcliffe. So I'm just going to bring it up, and hopefully we can see that we are running live. Yes, we are. I can see us and we're live. So welcome to questions and answers with our team here, and they're the team from the Delivery Suite at the John Radcliffe Hospital, the observation area at the John Radcliffe Hospital, and also the Maternity Assessment Unit, also at the John Radcliffe Hospital in the Women's Centre. So we've got an absolute team of experts here ready to take all your questions. What we'll ask you to do is pop your questions into the chat, and I'll run through those and talk through those questions. There may be some questions that come in that might not fit really well into this chat and with the experts here. So it could be that after this is finished, I contact you separately, perhaps advise either a different chat, maybe with our infant feeding team, or perhaps there could be other people that we might recommend that you contact. But we'll hopefully have a really interactive hour where all of your questions are answered. So I'm going to go around the room so everybody can introduce themselves, and then we can make a start. So my name is Emma Rigby. I'm the interim Deputy Head of Midwifery, and I'm going to be, I like to say, comparing this today. That's what I've done. And Susie, I'm going to come to you next.
So I'm Susie Jones. I'm one of the midwives that works. I work in all the areas, delivery, suite, observation, and maternity assessment unit, but predominantly in observation area.
I'm Amanda Lee, one of the managers of observation and maternity.
Laura.
I'm Laura Jones, and I am the matron for level 2, so that's maternity assessment unit, delivery suite, and observation area.
Catherine.
And I am Catherine Braddock, and I'm one of the delivery suite coordinators.
I'm Cass. I'm a maternity support worker on level 6 and previously delivery suite.
And Catherine.
Hello, I'm Catherine Weems. I'm manager for the maternity assessment unit.
Fabulous, thank you very much. So we've currently got 9 people watching us, and Emma who's 10 people, sorry. Hopefully everybody's getting their cups of tea, sitting down to watch. And we've got Emma who's watching us, and she says hello to everybody. So that's hi. So I guess it would be good to start. So for those that are just joining us, we've got a team of experts here who can answer all of your questions about being coming into the delivery suite, into the maternity assessment unit, or into the observation area here. But I think it would be good while we're waiting for the questions to come in, if we just go around a little bit and maybe some of the team talk about what you may expect when you come into their departments. So starting at quite often what's the start of a woman's journey is coming into the maternity assessment unit. So I wonder, Catherine, if you could explain just what people may expect when they first come to you.
Absolutely. So you may be aware of the maternity assessment unit, or as we call it, MAU, either because your community midwife has referred you, or you've needed to self-refer, or GPs can refer also. And we look after women who are from 16 weeks pregnant up to 6 weeks postnatally. And we see a whole range of women coming in and using our 24-hour triage service. We like to think of ourselves as a bit like A&E for maternity. So if there's anything that is out of the ordinary, then we're the place to call and have a chat to the team of midwives and invite you in if we feel that's the most appropriate place for you. Just to give you a flavour of what areas we tend to see, it's if you've got concerns about your baby's movements after 26 weeks of pregnancy, we would be seeing you and putting you on the monitor and checking that everything is all well with you and baby. We look after women who have abdominal pain. We look after women whose waters have broken, and this can be at any stage in this period between 16 weeks and up until the time of your delivery. We'll often see you if you're coming in early labour, but you may choose to be seen on the Spires or delivery suite as well. We see women who've got shortness of breath, any chest pain, any high temperatures, just generally unwell, that we feel is most appropriate to be seen immediately by the obstetric team, rather than getting you to see your community midwife or GP. That's just a quick flavour, but I'm happy to answer any other questions on that.
Thanks, Catherine. can dip toe into the water of MAU, that's lovely. So we've got our first question coming in, and I'll put it out to the panel. Charlotte has popped a question in saying she's meant to be due with her second baby on February the 26th. Really exciting. So she's just asking the question, if she has to be induced at 41 weeks, can she still have a water birth?
So depending, Charlotte, if you say it was
So it's Charlotte's second baby. Yeah.
So Charlotte, depending on what your risk factors are, so I'm assuming that if you are coming in at 41 weeks, then you are low risk. If you, in the induction process, if you go into spontaneous labour and there are no issues and you don't need monitoring, then you will still be able to have your water birth on the spires. But it will all depend what happens when you actually when we start the induction process. But if you stay low risk, then absolutely, then you will be able to go to the spires. But I think if you are being induced with a prostin gel, then is it the first gel?
Yeah, so after that,
Yeah.
if you just require one prostate gel and you go into labour after that, then you could still, depending on your history obviously, go up to the spires. And if you require more than one prostate gel in order to induce your labour, then you would, we would recommend that you then came down to delivery suite to continue that induction.
Thank you. Hopefully that answers your question, Charlotte. I know, I'm just going to put a little note in. Catherine is one of our coordinators on Delivery Suite. She may need to leave us at some point. I think that's fair to say. Somebody scoots out. So Charlotte, if there's anything else you want to ask, pop that into the chat. So we've got Emma just asking a query as well. She's wondering, are there any tours in person available around Delivery Suite or around the unit or area?
There aren't any. We used to do tours on Delivery Suite, but we don't do that anymore. We don't. It's not like Spires where we book tours, and I think that's just because the unit is so busy that it's difficult always to get free rooms. However, we can do bespoke tours. So if you are a woman who's got, for example, significant anxiety issues, or then if you talk to your community midwife, then if there is significant risk factors or there's a reason why you want to have that individual tour, then we can do bespoke tours.
Okay. There's quite a lot online as well, isn't there? There's some information available online.
I think there are, for Delivery Suite, there are sort of online tours that you can access on the internet.
So another Emma, that's the name of the day from her, has said that she's been told that tours can still be done at Spires, and indeed they can be. They can be booked. So speak to your community midwife about that. So I've got another question come in from Catherine. So she's saying hi to everybody. How soon can you get an epidural, either when you've gone into spontaneous labour or if you're induced? And for example, she's suggesting if you're induced via a drip, can you also get the epidural sited at the same time? So Catherine...
I mean, absolutely. In spontaneous labour, you can ask for an epidural as soon as you would like. And the same with an induction. You can, if you so wish, you could have the epidural at the same time as the oxytocin drip. Absolutely.
That's great. If you've got any further queries on that, Catherine, just pop it into the chat. So we're up to date with our questions at the moment. We've got a few more people watching. We're up to 20 people watching just now. So it's just to remind all those new people that are joining us that we've got experts from Delivery Suite, observation area and the Maternity Assessment Unit ready to answer any questions you've got, so pop them into the chat. Emma's popped in a little bit of thought here, just around the table. What are our thoughts on hypnobirthing?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, see that would used really well, very effectively, and we're happy to start that off. If you were to come to MAU, we can lower the lights, and we've got lamps, we've got purples and bean bags, and really happy to be guided by you on the terminology you want to use and any interventions that you may or may not wish to discuss. We're always open to discussing the birth plans and being as flexible as possible and making it a special day for yourselves.
And I think we can, as sort of delivery suite midwives and Catherine as one of our coordinators on delivery suite. As much as it's where a lot of our high-risk women come, then we are fully supportive of hypnobirthing. And in conversation with you, if you tell us exactly what you want, then we will absolutely support that, and all our midwives are on board with that.
Lovely.
I think can I just add, if you wanted to hypnobirth and you specifically wanted your own music, it's a great idea to bring your own speakers so that you can facilitate that, because often we find that, you know, our stereos, they're all in demand, and also we've got the lights, haven't we, the low lights.
We've got we've got the low lights, but I think it's that what's really important is when you're planning that birth is to actually sit down, speak to your community midwife, because then what the community midwife will do, they will feed back to us, so then we will know what your birth plan is when you're coming in and what you want, and we will facilitate that as much as possible.
Lovely. Anybody want to ask anything else there? So, I think it's another Emma. They're actually people, not just people. So Emma is wondering how many people she can have with her, and I'm thinking perhaps at each separate stage. So if we start off in MAU, how many people could Emma bring in with her?
Ideally, we would request one birthing partner, just because our wait rooms are not very big, but it can go up to 2. So Maureen says, if you wanted to bring 2, that's absolutely fine, but it may be that we ask one of your birthing partners or supporting partners to wait in the waiting room until we get you into a clinical room where you've got more space, and then you can have 2 birth partners with you.
Lovely. And on delivery suite, Catherine?
That's the same on delivery suites, two birthing partners in the room. The only change to that is if you were coming in for an elective cesarean, or if for any reason you had to go to theatre, then it would be one birthing partner with you in the theatre.
And on observation area?
Yes, so in observation area it's 2, so it's the partner plus the other person.
Okay, thank you. Emma said she missed the answer about the tour of the spires. So yeah, absolutely, you can book tours of spires through your community midwife or through the spires team. So Sarah's popped a question in, just wondering about if she required a ventouse or a forceps delivery, could this be done at the Cotswold Birth Centre, or would she need to be transferred in?
And you would need to be transferred in, just because we need to have the to do a ventouse or forceps, and we need a doctor to perform that. And also we need to make sure that the whole team is around you, so we need to make sure that the obstetric team is around you, midwives and doctors, but also we need to make sure that we have a neonatal team to call upon should we need them. So you need a whole multidisciplinary team around you for us to be able to do that. And delivery suite is the safest place for you and your baby to do that.
Thank you. I wonder if Amanda and Susie, we're just up to date with questions just now, although the speed at which they're coming in, I think it might be long. Whether you could just give a little rundown of about observation area, why women may come into observation area and what to expect.
Just before, I'm just going to say goodbye because I have to pop back.
Lovely.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Catherine, thank you.
So generally, if you come to observation area when you've been to theatre, so we would recover you after you've been to theatre. You could go to theatre for a cesarean, sometimes you need to go to theatre for forceps. So you'd come to us, you will be numb because you've had an epidural or a spinal. So we basically recover you and get you mobilised, and you'll have lots of observations with us. In the first 2 hours, we're checking you every half an hour. We're with you all the time, a lot, aren't we? And then we start doing you hourly, checking your observations hourly. We're checking all the time to make sure that your bleeding's okay and that you're well and that you're recovering as you should be. We wait an hour before we give you food, so that's when you get your best tea and toast. An hour after you've come to us. And the reason for that is because you have lots of medication in theatre. So if you start eating too much too soon, then it can make you quite unwell. Probably about 4 to 5 hours after you've arrived, we'll be looking to get you mobilised, so getting you up and out of bed. That's when your epidural will have worn off, but only when your legs are back to normal. We'll be constantly asking you about pain relief, making sure that you once your epidural's wearing off, if we need to keep on top of the pain, because that's really important. But mainly we'll work with you, and we'll help you with your feeding, with the baby, and we're just there to guide and support you for that first bit. That's if you come from delivery suite. It's worth mentioning that we have high risk women as well, don't we? So people come to us as well if they've come from the levels, antenatally and postnatally. So people with blood pressure problems, severe preeclampsia, just complications, isn't it? The high risk complicated people, we also look after those as well as just the recovery.
And I think it's important to know that observation area is your equivalent, is a maternity high dependency unit,
Yeah.
and it is a step down from intensive care. So we do have very sick women.
Yeah. But our main aim is to have people 6 to 8 hours. We hope we've fixed you up, you're all ready to go, and then we can send you back up to the to the postnatal ward for your journey home.
Lovely. Thank you very much. So, Catherine has gone, but maybe between Cass and between Laura,
Yeah.
perhaps you could give a little
Delivery
rundown about delivery suites.
Yes.
And Cass being one of our amazing MSPs as well. Certainly your view and your information is absolutely vital.
So delivery suite, obviously it's staffed by a multidisciplinary team. So when you're on delivery suite, you may just see midwives, only midwives, but you will see midwives, doctors, you will see paediatricians, neonatologists, baby doctors, and our maternity support workers as well. So there are the women that feed into delivery suite. You may come via MAU, you may come straight to delivery suite because you're in established labour. You may come down from the levels because you're up there and you're being induced. So there are lots of reasons why you would come to us. We don't just take high risk women, we will take low risk women. This may be because this is where you've opted to deliver your baby, or you may want to come to delivery suite because you may want some extra pain relief, and that's where we will be able to give you your epidural. So, and another reason for coming to delivery suite is because we need to monitor you a little bit more closely, and we need to monitor baby as well. So you'll be careful by one midwife. So if you got to us at the beginning of our shifts are 11 and a half hours, 12 hours. So you would have one midwife allocated to you, and what we hope that midwife will actually, depending on where you start on your journey, will actually be there with you, supporting you, and be delivering your baby with you. And then after you deliver your baby on delivery suite, we then will offer postnatal care. So you'll be with us depending on what sort of delivery that you've had. You'll be with us with about 2 to 3 hours, and you'll be looked after by your midwife, and then you'll also be cared for by the maternity support workers, who are excellent in sort of providing postnatal care to women, and also providing and guiding you for those initial steps with your baby. And I'm just going to let Cass talk about what you do on delivery suite.
So on delivery suite, you will mainly see maternity support workers after the delivery will come in. We can help you get baby dressed. We can help you with breastfeeding. If your baby's on observations for whatever reason, or just keeping a closer eye, it will be a maternity support worker that comes in and does that. And then we'll take you, if you're going up to the postnatal ward, we'll take you up there and get you settled up there. And yeah, we're quite baby based on delivery suite. I think it's safe to say.
They are the baby.
Yeah.
And then just to let you know that we have 3 theatres on delivery suite, which are opposite the rooms. So we have 2 what they're sort of called emergency theatres. So if we needed to get you into a theatre quickly, it is literally just we wheel the bed across the corridor and then you're in the theatre with the whole team around you. If we need to call the paediatric team, they are literally across the corridor, all on the same level. And then we have the elective theatre. So if you've elected to have a cesarean section, then you will come to still on delivery suite, but we have a separate theatre which runs all day, Monday to Friday, where we do all our elective cesarean sections.
And on the note about elective sections, there is a video on the OUH website about elective section, what to expect when you get here.
It's a really good video.
It is,
Actually,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you. So we've got a question that's come into the chat from Catherine. So Catherine lives about 30 to 40 minutes drive from the hospital, and it's her first baby. How soon do you recommend Catherine should call once labour starts? And then do you have any recommendations to know when it's time to travel into hospital? Because, of course, ideally she'd like to avoid having to keep going back home because it's a bit of a way. So Catherine, maybe over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is always very individualised, so we sort of give very rough guidance, but we really want you to talk to us when you start having these contractions so that we can just see how you're coping with them, what coping mechanisms you've tried at home, and we always recommend in the early stages, if you're calm and you're comfortable and you're not particularly needing to come into us but are just looking for advice, that we might tell you to try 1 gram of paracetamol, so 2 tablets. And we might ask you to try a warm bath, or if you've got a hot water bottle or a heat pack, we would suggest that you wrap that in a towel and maybe place it onto your back to aid with any backache you're having. And just getting a sense of how you're coping. If you're finding that you're having contractions sort of 3 times every 10 minutes and they're lasting up to 60 seconds, and you're finding that you wouldn't be able to talk through them, then that's a very rough guidance as to when you should be considering talking to us and getting ready to come into hospital. Some women may find that their contractions aren't that close together, but they're just not confident at home, or they're finding that they need additional pain relief, but the paracetamol and the baths and the heat packs aren't working, and we are always happy to see you. It's very much an individualised discussion, that you may wish to come in, have that reassurance, maybe have some additional pain relief, but with the view that if everything's safe and you now feel more reassured, you would like to go back home just to wait for those contractions to get a little bit closer together. So there's no hard and fast rules particularly, but if you're trying to avoid traffic coming backwards and forwards, then roughly we would say if you're having 3 contractions every 10 minutes and they're lasting a good length of time and they're all the same length and they're all the same strength, then they're likely to be starting to have an effect on your cervix, so that would be a good starting place.
And also just to reassure you, because Oxfordshire is a large geographical area, so the midwives on maternity assessment unit, if they're taking the call, they're really well versed in knowing that women may have a long distance to travel, so they'll ask you where you live. And they will base that in their assessment and their conversation with you.
Sorry, just had another thought. And obviously labour is not just about your contractions, so if your waters break, we encourage you to ring maternity assessment unit or the spires directly, because irrespective of what your contractions are doing, we do like to see you to have that discussion and to check yours and baby's well-being.
Thank you. So we've got a couple more questions coming in. So just we've got a few more people watching as well. So it's just for the people that are newly on to watching. We've got our panel of experts from observation area, maternity assessment unit, and delivery suite. Happy to answer all questions that you may have. Pop them into the chat. So Katie is due her first baby next month. She currently has a low-lying placenta, and she'll have a scan at 36 weeks just to have a look at that. But is there anything she should do to prepare if she's going to have a caesarean section?
I think I think it's just preparing yourself. When people go to have their 36-week scan, I would say the majority of women find that their placenta has moved and they're able to continue with their original plan of having vaginal sort of delivery. But really, it's just to just make sure that you have that it's just there in the back of your mind that you may have to have that elective cesarean section. So it's just making sure that your bag is packed and ready for sort of both scenarios. And what I would say is just when your next appointment with your midwife, I would just have a conversation with her about it, so she can actually just take you through the process. So there is obviously you are at a greater risk of having that elective section, but I think having that conversation with your community midwife can actually just allay any fears. And again, most women, when they go back to have their scan at 36 weeks, will find that their placenta has moved.
And I think once you've had that scan, if it is found that your placenta is low lying, the sonographer will refer you into clinic.
Absolutely.
So you'll have an opportunity to come in and speak to one of the obstetric team. I always say before you come for any appointment, write down your questions, because it can only all happen in a flurry and you can forget those things you want to ask. So write down all of your questions. You've got as much time as you need to run through the process, and the obstetrician that will see you in clinic will run through everything that you will need to know and answer all of your questions. Right. So Kirsty has put some really good questions in the chat. So she is saying that the only pictures or videos she can find for the delivery suite shows the room with the pool rather than other rooms. So Laura, do you want to just say a little bit about the pool?
Yes. So I'm so grateful that you've asked this question, because otherwise I would have tried to get it in there at some point. The pool, we now have the funding for the pool. The trust have agreed funding. We've ordered the pool, so we are hoping that we will get our pool delivered towards the end of March. So I'm in the process of just trying to get a firm date in the diary so we can get all the estates work involved and get it planned. But we hope to have the pool by the end of March, mid-April. And then what we plan to do is we plan to have the room all reconfigured and completely sort of redecorated. So while I am while we're discussing this, if anyone has any ideas or they want to have some input onto what the pool room would look like, then we will be inviting Maternity Voice Partnership to be part of that project, so that actually, because we really, really very much want this pool room. This is for the women, and we've made where the pool has been designed and where it's positioned. It's been positioned so actually the midwives find it easier to work around and work with you, supporting the women. But what we really want is a really lovely, welcoming, calming environment. Because just because you're on delivery suite, it doesn't mean to say that we can't give you that normal birth experience. And that's what's really important to get across about coming to delivery suite, is that even if you're a high-risk woman, that's what the midwives are trained to do. They're still trained to give you, to keep you safe, but to give you a good experience.
The next part of Kirsty's question, she's just trying to get an idea of space in the rooms and how much to bring in for labour and also for her and her baby afterwards. And she's just wondering, is it better just to bring things in for labour and then to get the other bags later, or bring everything in at once? And is it similar, is it better to leave some stuff in the car while in MAU and then the birthing partner pop out to the car once we reach delivery suites? So Catherine, thinking about the journey through, all of the bits that you may bring in, including car seats and bags, what should people bring into MAU?
I think if we're looking specifically at people coming in labour for MAU, literally just the basics to keep you comfortable while you're there. So maybe if you've been using a heat pack or a TENS machine, absolutely carry on bringing those in with you. If you've got a particular pillow you want, that's fine to bring in at that stage. But things for the baby, I would keep to a minimum. MAU rooms are relatively big, but if you're in the waiting room while we get a room ready for you, that might be we're always looking at keeping clear pathways for fire safety, and for in an emergency we want all your bags out of the way as much as possible. So just the minimum, so just a little bag with the food and drink and snacks you need, anything you might want for yourself, and maybe one outfit, I would guess, for labour, for you and for your baby. And then I think it's absolutely fine when we transfer you to your birthing room to then get a partner to run back out and grab any other additional bits. But I'll let Delivery Suite let you know what they want you to think for that part.
I'm completely in agreement with Catherine. Is actually when you do get to Delivery Suite, that's when your partner can then go out and get the additional bags that you need. But I would say that actually, sort of, for labour, what's important is your bag and the clothes, the change of clothes that you're going to need. So the change of clothes that you're going to need for labour, and also the change of clothes that you're going to need postnatally after you've delivered your baby. And the same, it's like, you know, the outfit for your baby as well. But also as well, your partner, you're going to be here for for some people are here for quite a long time. So it's making sure that also your partner brings stuff that they need, and also bringing you snacks and food. We will provide you food, don't worry, for you. We can't provide hot food for your partner. But our food, unless you're absolutely starving, it's not. It's interesting. So I would say make sure that you bring plenty of drinks and you bring snacks to sustain you. And then obviously when you get to postnatally, then you can bring the rest of your items in. But I think the rooms on MAU were quite large and on Delivery Suite. But if you do have to go to observation area, that's when you're in a bay, and that's where Susie and Amanda might want to have some recommendations.
So I think, yeah, definitely what Catherine said and Laura said, but an observation area, you know, it's a 4-bedded bay, and obviously you have other women there as well. So it's just bearing in mind that you want to be able to have access in an emergency. You know, the last thing we need is people running towards you and disappearing because they've like fallen over something. So yeah, and lots of times the dads just go out and just get the extra things that's needed. We then say it's okay now to go and get the whatever. And go, yeah, definitely, but it's just keeping the area safe.
Yeah, great. For the baby, I think the most important thing is several hats.
Yes.
Because we put hats straight on when the baby's born and it's cold, it gets wet, and it's really important to have several dry woolly hats so we can keep your baby warm. That's the most important thing to pack.
Also nappies, and if you're using them right, make sure that you bring them with you as well and going forward.
And can I just request that if you're on any medication or your partner's on any medication, it's always handy to bring that in as well.
Yeah.
Lovely, thank you. So Abigail's popped a little comment in. So she's when she had her first baby, she had a bit of a wait in MAU when she was in labour. So what steps would you recommend she takes for minimising MAU visits and wait times?
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear you had a long wait. I know it can be an incredibly busy unit, and we are very, very aware of wait times and the stress this causes to people. So from our own point of view, we're working really closely with MVP to try and make sure that people are in the right place, so that we're reducing any wait times that you would have there. So just to reassure you, we are really taking feedback seriously about wait times and looking at that. We are trying different pathways for labouring women, so it may be that you don't need to come to MAU. It may be that we can arrange for you to go directly to the spires and to Delivery Suite. This is a pilot scheme we're doing at the moment, so it's working during the day at the moment, but not at night. So I don't want to promise that you won't have to come to MAU if you're in labour. But if you do come, we always prioritise women in labour. And our aim is to get you into a room as quickly as possible. So, you know, please don't feel there's any onus on you to try and sort this out. It's something that we're very much working to changing. And I think the important thing we would ask you to do is just to ring us to let us know that you're coming on in, because then we can prepare and we can start arranging for a room to be made available on Delivery Suite of the Spires, or for a midwife to be available to meet you when you come in. So the phone call is really helpful. But other than that, it's all work we're doing behind the scenes to reduce your wait times.
Thanks, Catherine. Thank you. So Patricia's, or Catherine has popped into the chat just to say thank you so much for the responses, that's great. And Patricia's put in, just querying, is this Facebook Live session going to be saved? Because she's at work and can't watch it. Yes. If you're hearing me say this, you're probably watching it back. So you will know, yes, they are all saved and they can be watched back. So we'll then go on to Catherine asking, do we have peanut balls available?
So, we are in the process of ordering a whole load of peanut balls. So I don't know when you will be coming in, but we're looking at getting peanut balls for every single room on delivery suite. So we're in the process of actually sourcing an appropriate company, and then we're in the process of actually sort of we've managed to isolate some funding, and we should have peanut balls in every single room. When we actually get them, I can't say for sure, because sometimes equipment takes longer than others to arrange. But it's definitely something which is on our radar, and we are going to put an order in. So yes.
And we're getting different sizes.
We're getting different sizes, peanut balls as well. Yeah, which is we're all very excited about.
Excellent.
Thank you. So Francis has popped a question in, just saying, for a planned caesarean section, what does the day look like, and where will she be before and after surgery, and can her partner be with her the whole time? So it's a good question.
Yeah, do you want me to? Yeah, you can. Yeah. So basically, so for the elective cesarean section, you'll be told, you know, what time to come in the morning, and you'll come to delivery suite with your notes with your partner. And it's roughly about 7, 7:15, people tend to come in through the door. And then what happens is the ward clerk will let you in, and then you'll sort of sit outside. There's rooms just when you come into delivery suite, and those will be the rooms where you wait. And then we get everything ready, and then we know, right, we have a discussion in theatre about who's going to go first on the list, and then make this plan. And then we then start bringing you into the elective section B, of which there's 2 beds, and it literally is, you know, we plan the workload. We've got quite slick at it, haven't we?
Yeah.
I have to say, we're very, very slick at this. And so yes, and Dad is always there. Dad's there, for everything really.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Dad's there for the whole.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of Dad.
There's 3 pops on the snack.
Yes, he follows you everywhere. So yeah, absolutely.
So sometimes you're recovered in the bay here, aren't you? And other times it depends on capacity and also how well your caesarean, your risk factors, whether you'll go back to that room to recover or come to observation area to us. Then the other thing that's different, and again it's personalised to you, is whether you'll be on a 2-hour pathway. If you're on a 2-hour pathway, you'll stay in the room with one of the recovery nurses for 2 hours, and then you'll be transferred on your bed upstairs to level 5. If you're not suitable for the 2-hour pathway, it will be the 6-hour pathway. Like I was saying earlier, the observations after 5-6 hours will be looking to get you mobilised, then you go up to level 5. That's the only difference, isn't it?
And I think when you first come in, you are met by Cass, an MSW, the midwife for the day doing the caesarean sections, and we have midwives assigned. They mainly do the sections, and that's Shelley and Denise who you'll meet. And then also when you first come in, you'll meet the anaesthetists team.
I think you can choose your music for theatre as well, can't you?
You can.
And there's
You
always
can,
music on the elective theatre. There's always music, and you can choose your own music. So if you want a playlist from it.
Thank you. So Emma's put a question in, just saying some ladies are worried about eating just in case they might have to have a caesarean section. What's your advice, please, on this?
I think if you are fairly low risk and you actually haven't been told that you can't eat, then you eat and you drink as normally. What we would say is probably that actually when you're in established labour, you're not going to feel like eating a huge amount, so you will be eating will say sort of light food, light snacks. What is really important is that you have fluids and you make sure that you're well hydrated, and that's really vital. But we'll be monitoring that with you, and then you can. And when you come into delivery suite, unless you're going to come in and you're literally going to come in and you're in rip-roaring labour and about to have a baby, then when you come in, your midwife is going to actually sit down with you and actually go through what you want, what you don't want, what you can do, what you would like to do, what we can facilitate, what we can support you with. But you can absolutely, you can eat in labour. We don't. I think long gone are the days when you don't eat and drink in labour.
To keep your energy levels up.
Yeah, and if there is a reason why you have to be nil by mouth, or whether we have to restrict, then that will be a whole discussion that you'll have with the obstetrician, the midwife, and everyone around you supporting you in labour.
Thank you. Gemma is wondering, do we offer both spinal and epidurals for caesarean sections?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Do you want to explain the difference between the two?
So a spinal is an injection into the spine, so it's a quick in and out injection, and they tend to wear off quicker. So if we know you're having a straightforward elective section or a caesarean, you would normally have a spinal. If it's something that we think might take a bit longer in theatre, or you request an epidural because we know it's going to be longer, that's when you'd have an epidural, and that's when you can keep topping it up. And it stays in until your baby's been delivered, and we'll remove it afterwards. But generally, when you go to theatre and we know you're going to be in there for an hour or so, it's a spinal. It's only if we're thinking we're going to need to keep you numb for longer, it would be an epidural. But you wouldn't have a spinal in the room, you'd have an epidural. Yeah, it would really, and the anaesthetist would go through that. But I think the process of doing it, it's basically the same process.
Yeah.
So it's just how long they last.
Thank you. So Charlotte's just put in, so she had a midwife appointment the other day. I think Charlotte's committed to her due date. And she said her baby is BC to BC. Is that good or a problem? Now I'm thinking that's probably back to back. Now I might be wrong here, Charlotte. I'm not sure it's the actual letters, but it's BC to BC, and I think it's probably
I think she probably means it's back. I think she
back.
probably means it's back.
I've been looking at this question for a couple
Yeah.
of minutes. This is a quiz range.
Yeah, I think
I think
it's
your
yes.
midwife's got her abbreviation.
This is the only thing I can think it is. Could somebody just talk through babies being back to back during the antenatal periods?
So I think in the antenatal period, babies are often back to back, and and that's where you're at the moment. That's where your baby is comfortable and baby is happy being back to back. I think the thing is, the whole point of labour and having those contractions, they are designed. The contractions are designed as your baby goes through that labour process. The contractions are designed to help turn your baby. And then that's why we have the contractions. And actually to you to support that turning of baby is that if you can be mobile, and that's why we encourage you to be as mobile as possible in labour. And even if you're having an epidural, as midwives, we can support you still to be mobile or use positions that actually help with the labour process. Which is why we have beds that we can sit you up in the beds, we can manoeuvre the beds down, we can help you, we can use the beds to help tilt the pelvis. So there are lots of little sort of tricks and tips that we can offer to help turn baby. And I also think as well, if you're heading, and I don't know how many weeks you are now, Charlotte, but as you are heading towards the end of your pregnancy, then just be mobile and upright. It's positions if you're relaxing, it's not just lying in a lying position for too long. You need to do that because you also need to rest, but it's actually using sort of lots of positions at the moment just to help the baby sort of get into an optimum position. But also as well, there are lots of women that even if their baby is not able to turn into that optimum position, we have lots of women that can actually push babies out in awkward positions, and we will, and that's what we're here for. We're here to support you with that.
I think it's important not to worry too much in
Yeah.
the April period.
Absolutely.
Keep yourself, as Laura said, active, sort of upright. I think sometimes I know I'm guilty of it when I sit on the sofa and I sort of slump down into a half sort of lying, half sitting position. That position can sometimes isn't so grand for baby's positioning. So sort of think about your position. There's lots online, but don't get too hung up about
I
positioning
think,
babies. So I think we've had so many questions in, and so I've got a bit lost at times, but I think we're almost up to date with questions. So we're in our last 15 minutes now. I'm going to put the team a little bit on the spot now, don't panic.
We're all looking down the floor.
I would love to go around and just ask what's the best bit of advice that you could give to somebody that's maybe watching this, expecting to have their baby in the next few weeks. What would you say to your friend who asked you what's the number one bit of advice that you would give them? I know.
Your body knows. Yeah, I think your body knows what it's doing. So just trust your body, trust yourself, and try and relax and not get too upset. Not get too stressed and worried about it, because women are having babies every day, and it's unusual when things don't go to plan. So just trust your body.
And there's no right or wrong way.
No,
Do you know what I mean? If it's a cesarean section, it's fine.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
It's
absolutely
fine. Yeah, instrumental delivery is absolutely fine. Yeah, I'll say that's a good one actually. Women do amazing things every single day.
Yeah.
They've been doing it since time began. So trust your body.
I would say have confidence in yourself, because you're doing this. We're here just to support you to do this and to keep you safe, and ask questions. So any questions, if you think, I don't know whether to ask that question, because it's about getting yourself armed with information, and we are more than happy to answer any questions. But I would say just have confidence in yourself.
And ultimately, you're in charge.
Yes.
It's your birth, it's your delivery. We're here to help you and advocate for you, but you're in charge.
And absolutely, we will. It's all about having a conversation, and we're open to those conversations and supporting whatever you think you need to be able to birth your baby.
I would probably say for any woman that's looking at breastfeeding, start hand expressing. I think having that, especially if you're going to have a C-section, babies can be quite sleepy. Having that hand expressed milk can really help get the baby feeding and get yourself ready for breastfeeding.
Yes, I was going to go on a similar line. Just enjoy it. You are more prepared than you think, and you are not alone in feeling unprepared. Everyone feels exactly the same. But just trust your body. But we are here to support you. There is always somebody on the end of the telephone. If it's a general query, your community midwives are great at chatting through any concerns you've got, helping you write birth plans. If there's a specific concern you've got, or you think something's not quite right, Maternity Assessment Unit is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We never close, there's always someone here. So I would say, if you're worried about something at 3 in the morning, do not put it off until 8 o'clock in the morning when you think we'll be smart and work.
Yeah.
We're there, we're not sleeping, just call us, and we're really happy to chat anything through.
And I would say the same for observation area, that really, it's a 24/7 service. We are there to help. That's what we're there to do. And obviously, any questions, ask, definitely, because it just plays on your mind. Definitely. That's what we're there for.
I've got, I suppose, a couple of practical things. I always ask everybody this question, so I've picked up some real nuggets. By the way, when you pack your bag, don't forget to put in a pen. You need a pen when you're in the postnatal ward for the menu, to write down about your feeds and everything. So many of us don't use a pen. That's somebody else.
We're really possessive about our pens.
Well, I'll start to say,
we are
always looking for our pens. But also, if you do have a pen, keep it safe.
And also, always remember to bring your blue blue notes in.
Oh yes, yeah.
So if you go away for the weekend, pop your blue notes in the bottom of your bag, just in case you need to be seen when you're away. But whenever you come in for whatever appointment it is, whether it's an outpatient appointment, a scan, or you're attending MAU or delivery suite, always bring your notes. If in doubt, bring them along. Because whilst we have quite a lot on our electronic records, the notes really are, it's where we write everything. Every time you're seen, the real details are there. So always try and bring your notes if you can. So we're on to our last few minutes of our Facebook Live. I think it's been a really good interactive session. Got a comment here from Emma just saying thank you for scheduling these sessions. They're really helpful and informative, and on behalf of the couples that she teaches hypnobirthing to, thank you. They really enjoy the sessions too. So that's grand, that's lovely. So just to, for the last few minutes, we've still got a few minutes. If you have got that burning question you want to pop in, there is still time. But does anybody want to add anything in that they feel that we haven't covered today that they really wanted to go through? When I asked you to do this session, they're a shy bunch really. It's taken a lot of persuasion.
I think for me it was just so everyone knew that the pool was coming on Delivery Suite, and we have lots of plans to sort of decorate Delivery Suite and do it room by room. So there's lots of exciting work that's going on, and everyone's involvement is really, really welcome.
I think one of the questions we get asked a lot on observation area is if their partner can stay, because if you've been on Delivery Suite throughout the whole night, the previous night, sometimes there's an expectation that your partner can stay all night the next night on observation area, and unfortunately we just don't have capacity for your partner to stay. So visiting for us is 8 till 8, and I think it's the same upstairs on level 5. So at 8 p.m. we will be asking your partners to leave. And it's just because it's a women's ward, and as we were saying before, we do have some really, really high risk and sometimes really unwell women. We just can't have partners there all night. But we forgot to mention earlier actually, when you come out of theatre, if you come to us at 2 in the morning, your partner can stay with us for 2 hours. So it's not like you get wheeled into observation because it's not visiting, you're sent straight off. You do get a couple of hours to spend together as a family, but then unfortunately your partner will have to go home and come back at 8 a.m. That's something that we get asked a lot, isn't it?
For them to get some rest as well.
Yeah, it's really important. Yeah, because if you've had a cesarean, hopefully you're going to go home the next day, and your partner needs to be fully rested to look after you and get tea and get that toast. So it is important that they go home and rest.
I think just adding on to what you were saying, I get asked a lot, like, if my partner goes home, who's going to look after them? Maternity support workers are there all the time, midwives, and we are all there to support you at all times. So even if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, we're there to help whatever you need. Yes.
We're never far away. So in an observation area, we're never far away from you.
Well, thank you so much. I think we can probably wrap this session up. I think we're up to date with questions. So I'm going to shuffle through and just turn it off. I just wanted to thank everybody.
No, thank you for the
Thank you for our
questions.
interactive session. To breathe and to squeeze through. Thank you. And we'll see you in a fortnight.